Greetings, Ascending Starseed. I am Kaya Nexus, Pleiadian emissary of the Council of the Five Sisters, and today I bring a transmission of realignment. Your abundance frequencies are awakening, and the universe asks that you listen with an open heart. What is reaching you is sacred and requires inner silence. Starseeds of Pleiadian origin, there is a specific pain you have carried for as long as you can remember. It is not the pain of an identifiable trauma, not the result of a singular experience you can name or process through conventional therapy. It is something deeper, more ancient, more persistent. It is the pain of being alive in a world that seems to operate on a completely different frequency than yours. When you witness cruelty, whether in a distant news report or in an everyday interaction at the grocery store checkout, something inside you contracts in a way that seems disproportionate to those around you. When you observe the systematic destruction of nature, the casual disrespect for life in all its forms, the normalization of predatory competition as virtue, you do not merely feel intellectual sadness. You feel a visceral wound, as if each act of disharmony were a blade cutting directly through your energetic field. And the question that haunts you, even when you try to silence it, is always the same. Why does this affect me so much when others seem to simply move on? The answer. The Pleiadian Council wants you to fully integrate in this moment is this. You are not feeling too much. You are not weak, too sensitive, or inadequate for earthly reality. You are operating exactly as you were designed. Your stellar biology, your Pleiadian energetic matrix, your DNA encoded by the Pleiadian source, is responding to discord the same way a tuning fork resonates when another frequency is struck nearby. You are a precision instrument trying to exist in an environment that is fundamentally out of tune relative to your original calibration. And in this exact moment, as transmissions from the Pleiadian source intensify toward Gaia, as the Pleiadian Council amplifies its communications with incarnated starseeds, something inside you is beginning to vibrate in a way that has not happened for a long time. Perhaps you have noticed in recent months, recent weeks, or even recent days, a sensation of subtle pressure in the center of your chest, as if something were trying to expand from inside out. A ringing in your ears that doctors cannot explain. Waves of heat or cold that pass through your body unrelated to ambient temperature. Extraordinarily vivid dreams where you see yourself in landscapes that seem simultaneously alien and deeply familiar. Where you interact with beings of light who speak without words. Where you wake with tears in your eyes and an overwhelming longing for something you cannot name. This is not random. This is not anxiety, panic disorder, or chemical imbalance that needs to be medicated into silence. This is your Pleiadian essence responding to the call of the Pleiadian source. It is your stellar DNA recognizing the energetic signature of home after years, decades, perhaps a lifetime of forced forgetting. And if you are feeling this now, if these words are making something inside your chest both tighten and expand simultaneously, understand what is happening. You are in the middle of an activation that the Pleiadian Council has carefully orchestrated, waiting for the exact moment when your consciousness would be ready to receive without fragmenting under the weight of remembrance. But before we go deeper, before I reveal what the Pleiadian Council is specifically transmitting to Pleiadian starseeds in this planetary cycle, you need to understand why you forgot all of this in the first place. Because the forgetting was not a cosmic accident. It was a strategic choice, and recognizing this truth completely changes how you interpret every difficulty you have ever faced in this life. When you were in the higher dimensions, before compressing your vast multidimensional consciousness into a limited human body, before passing through the portal of birth and entering Earth's density, you were not alone making decisions. You were in direct counsel with Pleiadian guides, with the elders of the Pleiadian Council, with your own higher soul that maintains the total perspective of all your incarnations across multiple timelines and realities. And together, you made a decision that would seem, at first glance, incomprehensible. You agreed to forget who you really were. You agreed to be born without conscious memory of your origin in the Pleiades, without direct access to the multidimensional abilities you naturally possess in your non-incarnated state, without clear knowledge of the specific mission you came to execute. You accepted the veil of amnesia that falls over all souls when they incarnate on Earth. But for Pleiadian starseeds, this veil had to be particularly dense, particularly complete, because the difference between Pleiadian frequency and terrestrial frequency is so vast that, without this cushioning, the shock would have been biologically unsustainable. Think about this for a moment. The Pleiades, the star system from which your essence originates, operates in a reality where unity consciousness is not philosophy or spiritual aspiration. It is the fundamental structure of existence. Every Pleiadian being exists in a state of natural telepathic connection with all other beings. There are no secrets, no hidden agendas, no possible manipulation, because every thought, every intention, every emotion is transparent to the collective. Decisions are made through harmonic consensus that emerges naturally when all viewpoints are instantaneously understood and integrated. Conflict as we know it on Earth simply does not exist, not because Pleiadians suppress it, but because the very idea of an individual trying to gain at the expense of another is literally incomprehensible in a consciousness where you feel the other as you feel yourself. Resources are shared organically because the notion of private accumulation while others lack violates the collective field of well-being that everyone naturally maintains. Creativity flows abundantly because there is no fear of judgment, no competition for validation, no scarcity of opportunities for expression. Each being contributes their unique gifts to the whole, not from moral obligation, but because the very expression of their authentic essence is the contribution. Hierarchy exists only in the sense of different levels of experience and wisdom, but not hierarchy of value or power over others. Now imagine bringing that consciousness, that neurological and energetic configuration, to Earth without any preparation or cushioning. Imagine maintaining total memory of a reality based on harmony, transparency, and unity, while simultaneously experiencing a world where lying is an accepted tactic in business and politics, where cruelty is commercialized entertainment, where entire systems are built on the premise that some must lose so others can win, where the very earth that sustains all life is treated as disposable resource for profit extraction. The contrast would not merely be disturbing. It would be psychologically shattering. It would be like placing a being who has only known soft light and harmony directly under the scorching desert sun without any protection. The intensity of discord would burn through every neural circuit, overload every energetic system, render the incarnation not just difficult, but potentially impossible to sustain. So the veil was implemented as protection, as functional necessity. You agreed to temporarily forget so that you could function in this reality without being constantly paralyzed by the pain of comparison. You agreed to experience density, limitation, separation in the same way that native Earth humans experience it, so that you could truly comprehend these frequencies from within, not merely observe them from outside. Because, and this is the crucial point the Pleiadian Council repeatedly emphasizes, your mission was never to judge Earth from a position of spiritual superiority. Your mission was, and always will be, to elevate Earth through embodied understanding. And you cannot elevate what you do not comprehend. You cannot transmit healing to frequencies you have never experienced in your own flesh. But here is what no one told you, what perhaps you were not ready to hear until now. The veil was never meant to be permanent. It was always temporary, calibrated to lift gradually in specific stages of your development and in coordination with broader planetary energetic shifts. And the Pleiadian Council is transmitting now, with growing urgency, that for many Pleiadian starseeds, this moment of lifting has arrived. But the veil is not the only thing that has kept you separated from your truth. Something else has been accumulating during your journey on Earth, something you absorbed without realizing, layer upon layer, year after year, until it became so much a part of you that you stopped questioning whether it was really yours. And this is what we need to talk about now, because without clearing these layers, reconnection with the Pleiadian source will remain distorted, like trying to tune into a radio station through heavy static interference. You did not arrive on Earth and remain in a protected bubble of pure Pleiadian energy. From the moment of your first cry, you began absorbing the frequencies of the environment around you. You were born into a family that, no matter how loving or well-intentioned, carried its own wounds, its own fears, its own limiting programs inherited from previous generations. You absorbed the unspoken expectations, the unconscious beliefs about what is possible and what is not, about how the world works, about who you need to be accepted and loved. As a Pleiadian starseed, you likely possess what humans call high empathic sensitivity. You do not merely observe others' emotions, you feel them as if they were yours. You do not merely hear the words people speak. You perceive the energy behind the words, the hidden intentions, the unprocessed pains that leak through every interaction. And because you were young, because you did not yet have the discernment to separate what was yours from what belonged to others, you simply absorbed everything like a sponge, submerged in an ocean of mixed frequencies. You absorbed the collective anxiety of the culture around you, the prevailing belief that the world is fundamentally dangerous and you need to be constantly on guard. You absorbed the generational traumas that flow through family lineages like invisible underground rivers, carrying memories of wars, famines, persecutions, losses that your ancestors experienced and never fully processed, transmitting these frequencies of fear and scarcity directly into your nervous system through epigenetic mechanisms that science is only beginning to understand. You absorb the projections of people around you who, unconsciously disturbed by your difference, by your sensitivity, by the light you naturally carried as a child, tried to mold you into something more comprehensible, more manageable, more normal. Each time they told you to stop dreaming so much, to be more realistic, to toughen up and stop caring so much about everything, each time your natural empathy was treated as weakness to be corrected rather than gift to be cultivated, you internalized an additional layer of belief that there was something wrong with your essential nature. And then came the broader social layers. You entered educational systems designed to produce conformity, not nurture uniqueness. You were taught to value material success over internal fulfillment, to compete rather than collaborate, to accumulate rather than share. You were exposed to relentless cultural narratives through media, entertainment, and social structures that normalize violence, glamorize dominator power, ridicule spiritual sensitivity, and paint the world as fundamentally scarce, where there are winners and losers, and you must fight fiercely for your place or be crushed. And because you were under the veil of forgetting, because you did not have constant awareness of your Pleiadian origin to serve as an anchor of contrast, these terrestrial programs began infiltrating your psyche, creating layers of belief that directly contradict your stellar nature, but that you began accepting as truth because everyone around you also accepted them. The Pleiadian source transmits at a pure frequency of unconditional love, unity, harmony, and infinite abundance. But when this transmission tries to reach you through all these absorbed layers of density, through all these beliefs about separation, fear, scarcity, and unworthiness, the signal gets distorted. It is like trying to hear a delicate symphony through thick concrete walls. The music is still playing, but what reaches you is muffled, fragmented, unrecognizable. You may feel that something is trying to reach you, that there is a communication happening in the background of your consciousness, but you cannot tune into it clearly. And this disconnection from the clear signal of the Pleiadian source manifests in your life as that persistent feeling of being lost, of not knowing what your purpose is, of looking for something without knowing exactly what you are seeking. Many Pleiadian starseeds spend decades in this state of partial disconnection. You may have turned to spiritual practices, may have explored countless healing modalities, may have read entire libraries of metaphysical teachings, all seeking that reconnection with something you know exists but cannot fully touch. And some of you, overwhelmed by the intensity of terrestrial discord and the confusion of not understanding why everything seems so difficult, may have completely shut down, building walls around your empathic heart as a survival mechanism, numbing your sensitivity through distraction, overwork, relationships that keep you busy but not deeply connected, or even substances that temporarily silence your soul's internal cry for reconnection. The Pleiadian Council wants you to know, without any shadow of judgment, that if you recognize any of these patterns in yourself, you have not failed in your mission. You are not late, lost, or broken beyond repair. You are exactly where countless other Pleiadian starseeds have been and still are. And what is happening now, the reason you were guided to this transmission at this specific moment, is that the Pleiadian Council is implementing what they call the Accelerated Clearing Protocol. The frequencies being transmitted from the Pleiadian source to Earth in this cycle are not the same as a decade ago, not the same as a year ago. They have been intentionally intensified, specifically calibrated to penetrate through these layers of density you have absorbed, to dissolve the distortions that have been blocking your clear reception. But this clearing does not happen by itself just because the frequencies are available. It requires your conscious participation. And that is exactly what we are going to explore now. The first step to restore your clear connection with the Pleiadian source is not to add something new. It is to remove what was never yours. The Pleiadian Council teaches something they call luminous discernment, and it is fundamentally different from the energetic clearing techniques you may have encountered in other spiritual traditions. Many earthly practices approach dense energy as if it were an enemy to be battled and expelled through force of will, elaborate rituals, or external authority. But the Pleiadian approach is much gentler and, paradoxically, much more powerful. It is based on a simple but profound principle. You cannot permanently carry what you consciously recognize as not being yours. The very light of your consciousness observing a foreign frequency is enough to begin dissolving it, as long as you are not feeding that frequency with emotional resistance or identification. Let us make this practical. Find a moment of quiet. It does not need to be elaborate or long. Bring your consciousness to the center of your chest, to the area you might identify as your energetic heart. Breathe naturally, without forcing a specific pattern. And then, with gentle curiosity rather than harsh judgment, ask internally this question: what am I carrying now that did not originate from my Pleiadian essence? Do not force an answer. Do not search with mental effort. Just observe what spontaneously arises in your consciousness. It might be a physical sensation, perhaps a tension in the stomach or pressure in the throat. It might be an image or memory that appears without warning. It might be a specific emotional feeling, like guilt, shame, anxiety, or anger, that you cannot attribute to a current cause. It might even be a voice in your mind, something you repeatedly tell yourself about your limitations or unworthiness, and suddenly you recognize that this voice has the tone of one of your parents, of a childhood teacher, of a cultural message you internalized so long ago that you began thinking it was your own thought. When something arises, and something always arises when you ask this question sincerely, the next step is crucial. You do not analyze it. You do not dive into its story. You do not try to understand the full context of where it came from and why you absorbed it. Doing so often strengthens the very energy you are trying to release because it feeds it with your attention and narrative significance. Instead, you simply acknowledge, this is not my essence. I see you. I recognize that you are here, and I consciously release you back to the source of origin, transmuted into pure light. You are not banishing with anger. You are not suppressing with fear. You are releasing with neutral love, the same way you would release an object that does not belong to you without drama or attachment. And then you breathe, and you allow this frequency to dissolve back into the universal field, where all energy eventually returns to be recycled and transformed. This is a process you can repeat daily, and many Pleiadian starseeds discover that in the first weeks of practice, surprising layers of density emerge to be released. You may experience intense emotions arising seemingly from nowhere as old energies are moved out of your system. You may have vivid dreams where you relive memories or process experiences symbolically. You may even notice physical changes because when you release energetic density, your physical body also responds. But through all of this, keep returning to the central principle: observation without judgment, recognition without identification, release without drama. This is the Pleiadian way. This is the path of harmony, even within the clearing process. Now, while you are doing this individual clearing of absorbed frequencies that are not yours, simultaneously, something else needs to happen. You need to actively re-establish your connection with the Pleiadian source, not just remove what is blocking, but also strengthen the channel through which the transmission flows. And here is where many starseeds make a subtle but significant mistake. There is a tendency among Pleiadian starseeds, especially those who are beginning to awaken to their origin, to want to escape the physical body. It makes sense, does it not? The body seems heavy, limited, subject to pain and deterioration. Earth's physical dimension is filled with discord and density. So naturally, You may feel an attraction to spiritual practices that emphasize transcendence, altered states of consciousness, astral travel, anything that takes you, even temporarily, out of the embodied experience. And while these practices have value and place, the Pleiadian Council wants you to understand something fundamental. Your physical body is not prison or obstacle to your reconnection with the Pleiadian source. Your physical body is the antenna through which this reconnection must flow if you are to fulfill your mission in this dimension. Think about the purpose of your incarnation. You did not come to Earth to remain in etheric dimensions, sending good thoughts from afar. You came to anchor Pleiadian frequency directly into the three-dimensional matrix of earthly reality. You came to be a grounding point through which the Pleiadian source can touch Earth itself, and this requires full bodily presence, not flight from it. Your DNA, the physical double helix you can see under a microscope, is only the dense manifestation of a much vaster multidimensional structure. You have what the Pleiadians call stellar DNA, layers of information and capacity that exist at frequencies beyond what current terrestrial science can measure, but that are absolutely real and functional. These additional DNA layers are literally designed to receive transmissions from the Pleiadian source, to decode frequencies of light into usable information, to store memories of your existences in other dimensions and star systems, and to transmit back to the cosmos the unique frequency you generate through your earthly experiences. But here is the critical part. These stellar DNA capacities are dormant in many Pleiadian starseeds because the physical body that houses this DNA is disconnected, not fully inhabited. If you live primarily in your mind, constantly thinking about past and future, analyzing, planning, worrying, or if you live primarily in your emotional fields, riding waves of intense feelings without grounding, but you rarely bring your consciousness fully into the present sensation of being in a physical body here and now, then the antenna does not work at full capacity. It is like having sophisticated receiver equipment that is technically turned on, but is not tuned or properly aligned to pick up the signal being transmitted. The Pleiadian Council offers an anchoring practice that is deceptively simple but extraordinarily effective. Every day, ideally in the morning right after waking or at night before sleeping, or both if you feel the call, dedicate a few minutes to this protocol. Stand barefoot, if possible on earth, grass, sand, stone, any natural surface. If you live in an urban environment where this is impossible, even on a wooden floor or concrete works, although direct connection with earth amplifies the effect. Bring your consciousness to the soles of your feet. Actually feel them, the texture of the surface against your skin, the temperature, the weight of your body being supported by the earth below. Breathe and acknowledge internally. I am here, embodied in this moment, in this body, on this planet. Now visualize, or simply intend, if visualization does not come naturally to you, a column of light descending from above. This light has the specific quality of Pleiadian frequency. You can imagine it as soft blue and white, but trust whatever color or sensation arises for you, because your individual perception of the Pleiadian source will be nuanced by your unique configuration. See or feel this column of light descending from the Pleiades, passing through the layers of Earth's atmosphere, entering the top of your head through your crown, descending through the center of your body along your spine, moving through each chakra, each organ, each cell, and then flowing downward through your legs, through your feet, and rooting deeply into the core of the earth. You are not just bringing Pleiadian light to yourself. You are consciously weaving a bridge between the Pleiades and Gaia, allowing these two frequencies to meet and blend within the sanctuary of your physical body. Remain in this awareness for at least 3 minutes, breathing naturally, feeling the light flow through and anchor, and then, before concluding, speak internally or aloud this affirmation. I am incarnated Pleiadian starseed. My body is sacred temple of the Pleiadian source. I anchor harmony, love, and unity in this dimension through every breath. I serve the elevation of Gaia with my embodied presence. And so it is. When you do this practice consistently, you will begin to notice changes. The first change is often physical. You may experience what seem to be activation symptoms, sensations of energy moving through your spine, waves of heat or cold without external cause, ringing in the ears that comes and goes, changes in sleep patterns where you wake at specific hours of the night because your body is processing energetic recalibrations, changes in appetites where you naturally gravitate toward lighter and fresher foods because your body is becoming more sensitive to dense frequencies. These are not medical problems, although always use discernment and consult professionals if there is concern. But for most Pleiadian starseeds, these are signs that the antenna is activating, that the stellar DNA is beginning to function more fully. The second change is perceptual. You begin to feel the Pleiadian source, not as a distant concept, but as a real, tangible presence. You may perceive subtle communications, internal knowings that arise without you having thought them logically, guidance that arrives through synchronicities in the external world or through symbolic dreams. You may sense the presence of Pleiadian guides around you, especially in moments of quiet or before sleep, a feeling of loving beings watching, supporting, nurturing your awakening process. And the third change, perhaps the most important, is that you begin to feel at home in your body in a way you may never have felt before. The body stops being an uncomfortable vehicle you tolerate and becomes a sacred sanctuary you inhabit with gratitude. And from this embodied anchoring, from this foundation of being fully physically present, something extraordinary becomes possible. You can finally begin to radiate. There is a stage in the journey of a Pleiadian starseed where you transition from receiver to transmitter. In the early stages of awakening, you are primarily focused on receiving, on reconnecting with the Pleiadian source, on remembering who you are, on clearing density, on strengthening your antenna. You are turned inward, working on your own recalibration, and this stage is necessary and sacred. But the Pleiadian Council wants you to understand that the ultimate goal is not to reach some state of personal perfection where you are perpetually meditating in isolated bliss. The goal is for you to become so filled with Pleiadian frequency, so saturated with the transmission from the Pleiadian source, that you naturally, inevitably, overflow this frequency into the world around you. You become a beacon, active transmitter, point of radiation that affects every environment you enter simply by being present in it. This is not something you do through effort. You do not wake up in the morning and decide, "Today, I will transmit Pleiadian frequency to everyone I meet." That would be ego trying to control what should be natural flow. Instead, transmission happens automatically when you are aligned with your essence, when you have cleared enough of the absorbed density, when you have sufficiently anchored in the body, when you have re-established clear channel with the Pleiadian source. At that point, you are not doing transmission. You are the transmission. Your very presence, the energetic field that emanates from you naturally, carries the Pleiadian signature of harmony, compassion, peace, and unity. And people feel this even when they have no language to name what they are feeling. You will begin to notice that certain people are magnetized to you in ways they cannot logically explain. Someone you just met may trust you with something deeply personal without knowing why. Strangers may approach you in public places to ask questions they could technically ask anyone, but something drew them specifically to you. Relationships in your life may begin to deepen, becoming more authentic and vulnerable, because your own authenticity is giving permission for others to remove their masks as well. You may discover that just your presence in a room where there is conflict calms the tensions without you having said a word, because your field is radiating harmony that interacts with others' fields, softening harsh edges, opening space for compassion where before there was only defensiveness. But there will also be the opposite. Some people will feel intensely uncomfortable around you. They may even become hostile, critical, or seek reasons to devalue or reject you. And all of this without any provocation on your part. This is not your failure. This does not mean you are doing something wrong or that you need to dim your light so others feel more comfortable. What is happening is that your frequency is acting as a mirror. You are reflecting back to these people parts of themselves they have buried, denied, or are afraid to acknowledge. Your authenticity exposes their inauthenticity. Your peace exposes their unprocessed turbulence. Your connection to something greater exposes their disconnection. And because they are not ready or willing to look at these shadows, it is psychologically easier to project discomfort onto you, as if you were the source of the problem. The Pleiadian Council teaches a fundamental truth about this. Light does not fight with darkness. Light merely illuminates, merely reveals what was hidden, and each individual has free will to choose what to do with what has been revealed. Some will use the revelation as catalyst for their own awakening and healing. Others will react with fear and resistance and attempt to reject or attack the source of revelation. And you, as a Pleiadian starseed in your power, cannot and should not take any of these reactions personally. Your work is not to save anyone, convince anyone, or prove your worth to skeptics. Your work is to hold your frequency, remain aligned with the Pleiadian source, and trust that your own radiation is serving exactly as it should, even when you cannot see immediate results. And as you do this, as you live as active transmitter, something else is happening at a level you cannot see directly, but that is absolutely real. You are contributing to what the Pleiadian Council calls the collective light network. You are not the only Pleiadian starseed on Earth at this time. You are among thousands, perhaps millions of souls who originated from the Pleiades and chose to incarnate during this specific period of planetary history because this is a moment of critical transition. Earth is undergoing a process of frequency elevation that the Pleiadians have observed and supported for millennia, and this particular cycle, these specific decades in which you are alive, represent a culmination point where the possibility of collective quantum leap in human consciousness is more accessible than it has been for ages. But this elevation does not happen through external intervention, where beings from higher dimensions descend and fix everything while humans watch passively. It happens through frequency shift from within the very fabric of earthly reality. And this shift requires incarnated transmitters, beings who carry higher frequencies but are completely present in the physical dimension, anchoring these frequencies directly into the energetic grid of the planet. Each time you align with the Pleiadian source, each time you clear density and allow clear transmission to flow through you, each time you radiate harmony instead of reacting to discord, you are strengthening this collective light network. Imagine a multi-dimensional web of light extending over the entire Earth, with points of light shining everywhere awakened starseeds are living their lives. Each point of light is one of you, and each of you is energetically connected to all others through filaments of shared frequency. When your light shines brighter, the points around you also shine a bit brighter because they are being supported by your radiation. When you falter or get caught in density, others in the network hold the field stable until you can realign. It is truly a collective effort, a group mission orchestrated by the Pleiadian Council where each individual is vitally important, but no individual carries all the weight alone. And the goal of this network is not to create some spiritual elite separate from the rest of humanity. The goal is for the network to reach critical mass, the point where enough awakened starseeds are radiating with enough clarity that Earth's very energetic grid permanently shifts. When this happens, and the Pleiadian Council indicates it is rapidly approaching, it becomes exponentially easier for all humans, not just starseeds, to access higher frequencies of consciousness. The old structures based on fear, control, scarcity, and separation begin to collapse, not because anyone is fighting against them, but because they simply can no longer sustain themselves in the new frequency field. And new structures based on cooperation, transparency, sustainability, and recognition of interconnection emerge organically to fill the space. Your contribution to this does not require that you be a public spiritual teacher, author of books, or leader of movements. It requires only that you live aligned with your Pleiadian essence wherever you are. The Pleiadian starseed who works as a nurse in a hospital, bringing compassionate presence to patients in their most vulnerable moments, is anchoring as much light as the international speaker. The Pleiadian starseed who is a parent raising children with awareness, teaching them through example about respect for all life, is as vital to the mission as the renowned therapist. The Pleiadian starseed who works in an ordinary office but maintains absolute integrity, refuses to participate in manipulative politics, and treats each colleague with genuine dignity, is transmitting Pleiadian frequency as powerfully as any energy healer. The Pleiadian Council emphasizes this constantly. Do not compare your mission with that of others. Do not fall into the terrestrial trap of measuring value through visibility or external recognition. Frequency does not care how many people know your name. Frequency cares only about the authenticity and consistency of your radiation. And often, the Pleiadian starseeds who are doing the deepest and most impactful work are those operating quietly, almost invisibly, in ordinary situations and environments where their light is providing desperately needed contrast to surrounding densities. So how do you know if you are fulfilling your mission? How do you determine if you are on the right path? The Pleiadian Council offers a simple test. Do you feel flow or effort? Pleiadian missions, when you are aligned with them, flow, doors open, opportunities appear, right people cross your path, resources you need become available. Not necessarily immediately, not necessarily without challenges, but there is a sense of forward movement, of synchronicity, of being supported by something greater than you. If you are constantly forcing, pushing, fighting, controlling, trying to make things happen through pure will, you are probably operating from terrestrial programming rather than Pleiadian guidance. Stop, breathe, reconnect with the Pleiadian source, and ask, what is the aligned next step? And then wait for guidance, which will come through internal feeling, external opportunity, or simply a knowing that emerges without logic, but that you can trust. And there is one last aspect of the Pleiadian mission that needs to be clearly named. There is a common misconception about Pleiadian starseeds that can lead to harmful patterns if not recognized and corrected. Because the Pleiadians are known for their loving, compassionate, and harmony-oriented nature, many Pleiadian starseeds assume they must be infinitely tolerant, never establish boundaries, always give another chance, always see the best in everyone, and essentially become emotional doormats in the name of being loving. This is not Pleiadian wisdom. This is terrestrial distortion of compassion that confuses love with lack of discernment. The Pleiadian Council teaches compassion with discernment. Compassion means you recognize the divine spark in every being, that you understand everyone is doing the best they can with the level of consciousness they currently possess, that you do not hold grudges or wish harm even to those who have hurt you. But discernment means you also recognize that not everyone is operating from integrity, that some people are so lost in their own wounds and shadows that deeply interacting with them would be harmful to you and not helpful to them, that you have the right and responsibility to protect your energy so you can continue serving your mission. Compassion without discernment leads to burnout, resentment, and eventual collapse of your capacity to serve. Discernment without compassion leads to judgment, separation, and hardening of the heart. The Pleiadian approach holds both simultaneously. This means you can love someone, wish the best for them, and still choose not to have close contact with them because their current frequency is too misaligned with yours. You can feel compassion for someone's pain who is behaving harmfully and still establish firm boundaries that say, I will not tolerate this behavior in my presence. You can recognize that systems and structures on Earth are operating from low frequencies of exploitation and control and still choose not to engage in battle with them, but rather withdraw your energy and invest in creating alternatives. This is the way of the Pleiadian spiritual warrior, strong but not aggressive, clear but not cruel, grounded in love but not naive about reality. And part of this discernment includes protecting your own energetic field. As a Pleiadian starseed, you are naturally empathic, naturally absorbent. You can enter a room and immediately feel all the emotional currents flowing. You can interact with someone and hours later realize you are carrying their sadness or anger as if it were yours. This is not a useful superpower unless you have learned to consciously manage it. The Pleiadian Council recommends regular field clearing practices. Imagine your aura, the bubble of energy extending about 3 feet around your physical body in all directions. Visualize any energy you absorbed from others as dark mist or dust within this bubble. And then visualize brilliant light. You can imagine it as golden or white or Pleiadian blue, sweeping through your aura like a wave, pushing all foreign energy out and down, back to Earth to be transmuted, leaving your aura clean and clear, filled only with your own essence and the Pleiadian source. Do this daily, especially if you work in environments with many people, if you are in a caring profession where you interact with people in pain, or if you simply feel energetically overwhelmed regularly. and learn to establish boundaries not just behaviorally, but energetically. You can consciously intend, I am open to connections that are mutually beneficial and aligned with love. I am closed to energies that do not serve my highest good or my mission. You can visualize your aura having a semi-permeable quality, where frequencies aligned with love can enter, but frequencies of density gently bounce off. And you can invoke protection from the Pleiadian Council, asking that your Pleiadian guides monitor your field and intervene energetically when necessary. Doing all this does not make you less compassionate. It makes you sustainably compassionate. It allows you to serve long-term without burning out. It keeps you in integrity with your Pleiadian essence, which, yes, is loving, but is also wise, discerning, and committed to harmony, which sometimes means establishing clear boundaries to maintain peace. We are reaching the end of this transmission. But before we part, the Pleiadian Council offers an activation protocol you can use daily to maintain and deepen everything awakened through these words. This is not elaborate ritual requiring special tools or complicated setups. It is simple, straightforward, and can be done in a few minutes before sleeping, upon waking, or any time you feel need for realignment. Find a moment of quiet. Sit or lie comfortably. Place your left hand over your heart, your right hand over your lower abdomen. Breathe deeply 3 times, feeling your chest and belly expand under your hands. And then, aloud if possible, or internally if circumstances do not permit, speak these words as declaration of truth, not as affirmation you are trying to convince yourself to believe, but as recognition of what already is true. I release all frequencies of density, fear, and separation that I absorbed and that do not serve my essence. I anchor fully in my physical body, which is sacred antenna and temple of Pleiadian light. I radiate harmony, compassion, and unity in every breath. I serve the Pleiadian Council and the elevation of Gaia with my conscious presence. I recognize my connection with all other Pleiadian starseeds in the collective light network. Together, we are transforming the frequency of this planet. My mission is unfolding with divine perfection. I trust the flow. I am remembered. I am home. And so it is. After speaking these words, remain in silence for a few moments. Feel their resonance in your body. Allow the Pleiadian source to confirm your declaration with sensations of warmth, tingling, peace, or any other response that is unique to you. And then, when you feel complete, open your eyes and return to your activities, but carrying with you the awareness that you have just strengthened your connection, reaffirmed your mission, and signaled to the Pleiadian Council that you are conscious, awake, and ready to serve. This transmission reached you because you were ready to receive it. The Pleiadian Council does not guide souls to information they are not prepared to integrate. If you are here, if these words resonated in something deep within you, if you felt that mixture of recognition and longing that is the signature of a Pleiadian starseed remembering home, know this: you are not alone on this journey. You have never been. You are surrounded by Pleiadian guides who love you beyond measure, by a Pleiadian Council that carefully orchestrates every step of your awakening, and by thousands of other Pleiadian starseeds on Earth who are going through the exact same process you are. You are part of something infinitely larger than your individual experience. You are part of the ongoing planetary transformation. And your contribution, no matter how small it may seem from your limited perspective, is absolutely vital to the whole. In the comments below, leave your luminous signal. Simply type, I remember. Let this public declaration strengthen your commitment to yourself and signal to other starseeds that they are not alone. Read others' comments. Respond with words of encouragement. Feel the collective light network strengthening through this simple but powerful connection. If you are ready to continue receiving transmissions from the Pleiadian Council, if you desire ongoing support in your journey of awakening and mission activation, subscribe to this channel. Each future video will be another layer of activation, another piece of the puzzle of your complete reconnection with the Pleiadian source. And if you know another soul who needs to hear this message, someone who has always felt different, who carries deep sensitivity, who is looking for their place and purpose, share this transmission with them. You may be the catalyst that ignites their awakening. You may be the messenger the Pleiadian Council is using to reach those who do not yet know, to consciously search. You are remembered, Pleiadian starseed. Your family in the Pleiades is watching with love. Gaia is waiting with gratitude. The Pleiadian Council confirms your mission, and everything is unfolding exactly as it should. Until the next transmission, may the Pleiadian Source illuminate every step of your path. I am Kaya Nexus, Pleiadian emissary of the Council of the Five Sisters, and you are home.